Switchcraft is brought to you live 3 times a week on Tuesdays and Thursdays at U.S. Eastern, 3 p.m., and on Saturday at whatever time I can get to it. Tune in live over at twitch.tv/runjumpstomp. This episode of Switchcraft is brought to you by Kimbalina66. Support Switchcraft and my other content for as little as $1 over at patreon.com/runjumpstomp. Save? Hey, can somebody really quick? I'm running a I don't have the same window open that I usually have open. Can somebody type at run jump stomp and like a little message? I want to see if it is color coded with the thing that I'm using today. Like if it pops out so I can see it. Okay, yeah, that didn't do it. That's not good. All right, that's fine though. We're all fine. How are you? Thank you for the host, Wyvern. I appreciate it, man. Episode 253 of Nintendo Switchcraft is also brought to you by Audible. Get a free book and directly support the show by checking out Audible. They have thousands of books from every genre. If you enjoy listening to audio content like a podcast, you're definitely going to like something that you find over at Audible. If you want to get a free book and support the show, you can just head on over to runjumpstomp.com/audible. Get your free book, which you get to keep forever, and support the show. It doesn't cost you anything. Anyone here have the BTTV plugin for Twitch? I do, but I don't have Twitch open as a website right now, Kodiak. There, I do now. Let me hide this, though. I don't need the video preview or the stream information. All right, I've got it open now, Kodiak, so you can send a message. And I can tell you if it's working or not. All right. It looks like I don't know, a Power Ranger. It looks like a Power Ranger of some kind. Is that what you were wondering? Okay. Does it show up in the full screen projector? I missed it. I don't know if it works in on my screen or not. All right. Let me see. I think we're ready to get started. Sorry, YouTube people. I got distracted. I saw a shiny thing. Okay. Let's start recording now. It's been 2 years. It's been 2 years since I started this podcast, and that's because it's been 2 years since Nintendo announced the Nintendo Switch. Today, October 20th in 2016, we first saw the unveiling video of the Nintendo Switch where that guy is playing his Switch in his apartment, and then his dog starts barking and wants to go for a walk or something, and he grabs his Switch, puts the controllers on the sides of his device, and takes it with him. And we see Karen, standing or playing Super Mario Odyssey in her apartment, and for some reason she gets up and looks out the window, and at that same moment people across the street are having a party on a rooftop, and they see her and wave her over. I know it's not really it's not really believable, but she grabs the Switch and brings it with her to the party. Now, I'm not saying that it's not reasonable for her to want to bring a console to a party, because the Switch has some awesome party games on it. But I just thought it was weird that they happened to look at each other from across the street at the same exact moment. It was a kind of unbelievable. That being said, as soon as I saw that video, I thought Nintendo has something really compelling here. Nintendo has something that is going to blow up. This is going to be huge, and I decided right then I was going to make a Nintendo Switch podcast, or a Nintendo podcast. Mostly because I was doing another show at the time, which was called Run Jump Stomp. If you're ever curious, why does Bill have Run Jump Stomp when the name of the show is Nintendo Switchcraft? Well, it's because I didn't want to buy a different domain. And that was my old podcast. And at the time, I didn't want to take over that podcast with nonstop Nintendo stuff. It was a podcast about games in general, and I didn't want that podcast to just kind of get taken over by that. So I started a separate podcast and called it Nintendo Switchcraft. And we've been going strong since. But the thing that I did this morning, when I realized it was the 2-year anniversary, is I went back and I watched that video again. And Nintendo did a great job showing us what the Switch can do. And I know that a lot of people, and myself included, were pretty skeptical about what Nintendo had shown us. Was it really going to be like this? And I think that they've delivered on the promise that they gave us 2 years ago. And if you want to feel a little bit of recent nostalgia, I suggest you click on the link in the show notes. And you can find the show notes over at runjumpstomp.com/253. And once you go there, it says first look at Nintendo Switch YouTube. You click on that link and it'll take you. You can watch that video again, and it brings you back to 2 years ago. 2 years ago, October 20th, 2016. Man, it doesn't feel like it's been very long at all. There we go. Let's see. What do I want to talk about next? Let me think for a second. What do I want to talk about next? I want to talk about, the giveaway. In hindsight, I probably shouldn't be recording the podcast right now. Right now, it's 11:43 in the morning on October 20th, as I was just saying a moment ago. But I should have waited about an hour and 17 minutes. And the reason why I should have waited about that long is because I've currently got a giveaway going for a copy of Super Mario Party for the Nintendo Switch. This was sent to me by a patron and a listener and a community member, Love My Ness. And they were really awesome and said, "Hey, Bill, congratulations on 250 episodes. I want to give you this to give away." And so they sent me this in the mail, and I'm currently doing a giveaway so that people can enter to win it. And that giveaway, by the time you hear this, I mean, unless you listen to it as soon as it comes out, or unless you're watching live, that giveaway is going to be over in a little more than an hour. And so if you are watching live right now, or if you're listening to this like as soon as it comes out, then you've probably still got a chance to enter. We've talked about it on the show before. So people, like right now, there's a bunch of people who've entered, and if you want to join, all you got to do is go to runjumpstomp.com/discord. Once you join the Discord, you can click on the giveaways channel, and then you click on the little party horn underneath the what the giveaway bot said, and you can enter that way. And in about an hour, the robot will select a winner, and I'll reach out to them and get their address, and I will send it to them in the snail mail. So big thank you again to Love My Ness. And if I had if I had thought about it, I would have waited until after recording so that I could have announced the winner right here on the show. But I'll announce the winner on the next show. Anyway, now that we've got that out of the way, let's talk about some Switch news. This one's really interesting to me. I was watching. What the heck was I watching? I was watching this video about Dark Souls. And I guess there's some sound issues with Dark Souls. And it seems like what Bandai Namco has done in order to keep their file size down is they have compressed a lot of the audio more than they did on other platforms. And if you don't know much about audio, audio takes up a lot of room when it comes to a video game. So much so that quite often when you download like a JRPG, you can download the Japanese voice as free DLC because they want to keep that file size down on the Switch. So what they end up doing is they just ship it with whatever the localized content is, and they give you the option to download the other languages as DLC if you want. That way, it's not taking up quite so much room on your Switch. But if you have room on your Switch, then you have the option to download that otherwise. Because sound files are really, really big. And because they're so big, a lot of times that people want to make sure that, or developers want to make sure that their game is taking up as little space as possible, which I appreciate. So they compress that audio. And somebody was doing a comparison video. Now, I had trouble really hearing the difference myself, but to be fair, I'm practically deaf. I've got a lot of hearing loss in my left ear, and I also have tinnitus in both ears, where my left ear is constantly ringing all day long, and I can hear it over like conversations and stuff. And if it's quiet in my right ear, I can hear my heartbeat, which is maddening. But well, maybe that explains why I'm such a loon. But you know, those two things together means that my hearing's not so great. So this doesn't really affect me. But in addition to having compressed audio, it sounds like that's not a pun, but it sounds like they also removed some audio. So somebody who I want to say is eagle-eyed, but I don't know what the audio equivalent is for somebody who's extremely observant with a lot of visual acuity. So I'm just going to say an eagle-eared player. They were playing Dark Souls Remastered on the Nintendo Switch, and they noticed that when you stab an enemy, there's a sound for the sword going in, and then when you pull the sword back out, the sound that's usually there was actually completely removed from the game. So not only did Bandai Namco compress a bunch of sounds, but they also removed a bunch of sounds. Now, what I would hope that they would do is what the JRPG developers tend to do, where they have the compressed sound and they ship the game like that, but also offer some free DLC so that if you've got the room on your Switch, you can download the full sound files and you get the full experience that you're getting on other consoles that don't have to worry quite so much about hard drive space. I think that that would be a really good compromise. And there's a lot of people who are saying, hey, tweet at Bandai Namco and tweet it at Dark Souls and let them know that you're not happy. And I fully support that, and you should do that if you want to get the full sound files. But what you should make sure that you do is just be nice about it. Just let them know, hey, can we just get this as free DLC? We'll gladly tolerate not getting the full audio if you can give us the option to get the full audio. I think that that's really the best of both worlds in the end. But I'm curious if this is a big deal to you, because, you know, most of the time when people are listening to something on their Switch, they're probably using a pair of crappy headphones. Probably not like great headphones like most people. And, you know, Nintendo even has data that shows that that shows that 50% of people playing on the Nintendo Switch play portably, and the speaker on the system is not great. So I would assume that people are listening on just whatever earbuds that they happen to have, that came with their phone. Most people aren't going to be plugging in super nice headphones into it. And so I think that most people probably won't hear the compressed audio or won't notice it, whether their hearing is as bad as mine or not. But I would say that removing sounds altogether, I don't really like that nearly as much. And I do hope that we get that as DLC. By the way, if you're watching the video and you're curious about this thing that I'm holding up, I've got my Apple headphones that came with my phone, and I've got a piece of cloth wrapped around it, and this is something that we're going to be putting in the Etsy shop sometime soon. It's just a piece of cloth with Velcro, right, that you wrap around your cord to keep it, your headphone cord, to keep it nice and neat, and then you can shove it in your pocket like that. And this one has Doctor Who stuff on one side, and the TARDIS, or a bunch of Doctor Who faces on one side and the TARDIS on the other. My wife is going to be making these, and we're going to add them to the Etsy shop, which you can find at etsy.com/shop/runjumpstomp, or you can just go to runjumpstomp.com/thank you, and you can follow a link there that'll take you to that Etsy shop. And then you've got this nice little thing so that when you put your headphones in your pocket, they don't get so tangled. So this is really cool. And if you're curious as to what it looks like, just go to the YouTube channel and check it out. And look at that. People in chat like those things. I'll have to tell my wife about that, because as soon as she gets her sewing room back in order, we recently moved the window from, like, it was kind of off center. We moved it to more of the center when we did the siding. And so she's in there painting now, and all of her stuff is kind of jumbled up. Once she gets it back in order, she's going to finish sewing my son's Halloween costume, and then I'll try and poke at her to say, hey, people want those things. All right, so again, make sure you check out our Etsy site because it's cool. That being said, let's move on and talk about my Nintendo. You know, speaking of Halloween, I want to talk about my Nintendo Switch stats. And if you didn't know, sorry, I bumped the microphone. If you didn't know, Nintendo sends out a newsletter, which most of the time, as soon as I get it, I just hit the archive button because I get a lot of email, and most of the time it's kind of useless. But this month, the October one, they included some very interesting information, and it says, oh, by the way, and it didn't show up at the beginning. Like, you had to scroll down quite a bit to get there. It says, oh, by the way, here are some fun Nintendo Switch stats about you. And it tells you the number of hours played in the last 90 days, what your most played game is of the year, and your percentile of your top game hours against other players. So how much of the time that you've played your most played game this year was against other players. I think that's what that means. And I was really surprised to find out. Well, was I surprised? Well, I was surprised to find out how much I played, because I've been incredibly busy, and somehow I still managed to play for 106 hours in the last 90 days. I'm sure that in the summertime that would be more, but I managed to play for 106 hours in the last 90 days. My most played game was Fortnite. Let me zoom in on this so you guys can see it too. That's my most played game this year, which that was not surprising to me. But at the same time, I was like, oh, really? because I played a lot of different games, but Fortnite is the one that I keep going back to over and over and over again. I'm totally hooked on that game, and it's really good. And 87% of the time that I played, I think I'm understanding this percentage thing here. It says 87% is the percentile of my top game hours against other players. So 87% of the time that I played Fortnite was against other players. You would think that would be 100%, but I guess that there's been a lot of times where I where I probably had Fortnite running, and I left it in the lobby and got up and walked into the other room and forgot that it was running or something like that. And maybe that's why 13% of the time I didn't play Fortnite against somebody else, because it's a multiplayer only game. There's no other way for me to play it, especially on the Switch where it doesn't have the save the world mode. I just thought it was really interesting, and I like that they're giving this kind of information. I did see, like, one person had sent a message to, I think it was Reddit, and they were like, "Is there a way for me to opt out? I don't want this information collected about me." I don't think that there is a way to opt out, but I don't understand why anybody would say that they don't want that information collected. It's not like it's a bad thing. I didn't really understand, unless they're spending all of their time playing one of those weird games where you can those games that are not for kids. If you're looking at the video, my eyebrows are going up and down, and I'm winking a little bit, so you know exactly what I'm talking about. Like, if that's the kind of game that you're playing and you don't want that information collected, then okay. Or maybe you don't want somebody to see that you're playing. Maybe you've got 500 hours in the last 90 days, and maybe you don't want that information out there. I wouldn't worry about it, but that's just me. I'm pretty transparent. Anyway, I thought it was really interesting, and I'm curious as to what your stats are. So there's lots of ways that you can get a hold of me. You can get a hold of me through email, runjumpstomp@gmail.com. You can get a hold of me through Twitter @runjumpstomp. You can call and leave a voicemail at 260-RUN-JUMP. You can join our Discord, which I gave you the link for earlier. Join one of the, get a hold of me one of those ways, and send me a screenshot of your hours. I'm very curious as to how people are comparing to me, because I felt like the number of hours that I had, which now I've forgotten what they were. I got to click and see. 106 hours in the past 90 days. I think that that's a lot, but I could be wrong. And I'm curious as to where everybody falls on that. So please let me know. And let's go ahead and talk about Starlink. Starlink is it's running into some issues if you bought it at Best Buy, and it's very interesting. Ubisoft says that we have been made aware that a small amount of Starlink Battle for Atlas starter packs have been shipped without a copy of the disc and or cartridge included. We are currently investigating the scope of this issue and potential solutions. So if you haven't picked up Starlink yet and you are thinking about picking that game up, then I would recommend that, because this is an issue that is isolated to Best Buy. Now, Best Buy has said this is not a Best Buy issue. This is an Ubisoft issue, and I don't understand how that can be, because the only people who have complained about this issue are people who have purchased the game at Best Buy. And I don't understand how that can be an Ubisoft issue instead of a Best Buy issue, because it seems like what's probably happening is, I worked in retail, and in retail, in the back of the store where the employees go, there's probably a shrink wrap machine back there. And there's probably one of those at a warehouse too. You know, maybe Ubisoft is shipping the games to Best Buy. They get to the Best Buy warehouse where they are then distributed to all of the Best Buy stores, and maybe somebody who works there. And again, I don't know this for a fact. I'm just spitballing here. I'm just guessing. Um, Maybe one of the employees there at the Best Buy warehouse is saying, "I'm going to grab a few of these, open it up, re-shrink wrapped it, and then send it back out." And the person who gets it will not have the game cartridge. And then all they will do is just return it to Best Buy, and they'll get another copy that has it. And in the meantime, I can take that game cartridge and send it to sell it on eBay and make some extra money. I don't know that that's happening, but I can't imagine that there's somebody at Ubisoft who is saying, "All right, this is the Best Buy shipment. Let's steal some of the stuff out of there before we ship it to just Best Buy." If it was a problem with Ubisoft, then you would think it would be happening at all of the retailers. You know, GameStop people would be complaining about this. Amazon people would be complaining about this. People who are buying it at Target. It's really, I'm very curious as to how Best Buy can say it's not a Best Buy issue. That's very odd to me. Retro Luminosity in chat says, "Interesting. Yesterday, I received Monster Hunter from Amazon with no cart inside." See, there's people who are working at these warehouses that are opening them up and pocketing them. I remember, I think it was when the Switch first came out. I think that I feel like I remember hearing about a story where somebody had bought a Switch and they opened it up and there was just a block of wood in the box where it was, just to give it some heft. And I think that on the show, I even said, you know, if you're going into a store and picking up your system, open the box before you leave and make sure that your system is in there so that you don't get home and then it's gone, and then you go back and you say, "Hey, I went to open up my Switch that I just got, and the only thing in there was a block of wood." You know, they might be skeptical. They might say, "Well, how do I know that you didn't take it home, take out the system, put a block of wood in here, and come back so that you can get 2 for 1?" You know, they might think that. So whenever you're buying a video game system or a piece of electronics, and you're buying it in a store, in like a brick and mortar retailer, I would recommend that before you leave the store, you open it up and make sure that everything that's supposed to be in there is in there, because there's very little to stop a dishonest employee from opening that up, taking out whatever it is that they want, closing it back up, throwing it in the shrink wrap machine, and then putting it back on the shelf. There's very little to stop anybody from doing that. And you know, that sucks that there's dishonest people out there like that. But at the same time, I mean, you got to protect yourself. So make sure that you check before you leave. All right, there you go. Kodiak Moonwolf in chat, he says, "Funny story time. My friend went to his local game shop for a midnight opening and got a release as early as possible for Xbox. He didn't check until he got home. He received a PS4 copy, even though he'd pre-ordered an Xbox copy. He was not happy. I, on the other hand, couldn't stop laughing." That's really weird, because like the boxes look different. So there was a PS4 game in an Xbox, whatever the DVD case. There was a PS4 game in an Xbox case. That's really weird. That seems like somebody who's just doing it as a prank instead of no, he'd been given a PS4 copy instead of Xbox. That's what I just said. There was a PS4 game in... Oh, wait. So they just gave him the wrong box and he didn't look at it? They're different colors. That's weird. That's really weird. Let's move on. Jay Hartley, to answer your question, first off, pay attention, you. All right. To answer your question, where do you get that information? It's in an email that Nintendo sent you. It's the October newsletter, I believe. Not paying attention. Boy, I oughta. Let's go ahead and save. Oh, I hadn't saved yet at all. SC253. Yeah, I think it's called just Nintendo Newsletter. All right, we're already at 27 minutes, so I'm going to have to lightning around the rest of this. I talked about the other two stories for way longer than I had anticipated, so I'm going to lightning around the rest of the stories here. And make sure you check out the show notes for the full details on the rest of this, just because I don't want the episode to go too long. First off, on Dark Souls, before I go any further, I also got an email from Jose, and they said that last episode I talked about how you can pause Dark Souls, and I was really happy about that. And I asked if anybody knew if you could just hit the home button, and the answer is yes. It also pauses the game, and that's even easier than hitting the sleep button. In fact, quite often when I'm playing a game on the Nintendo Switch, I don't pause it. I just hit the home button and then I come back to it later. So that's good to know. And thank you, Jose, for the email. Okay. Wargroove, which, if you don't know anything about, is a game where it is basically a medieval style Advance Wars game, which is awesome. I love Advance Wars. I played the heck out of it on my Nintendo DS, not 3DS, just the original DS. And I had so much fun with that game. But Wargroove is basically a medieval version of that, and it's been, I think it was supposed to come out in 2017, and then they changed that to late 2018. Now they've decided to move the launch window again to Q1 2019. They say that this is to provide players with a really robust package when the big day comes. There's a whole lot of content in this game, and I'm really excited for it, but it sounds like it's going to be delayed yet again. Now, I hate to say delayed because they haven't given us a hard date yet anyway, so it's not really a delay. They're just moving their projection, and I wish that developers would just learn to just stop telling us when things are coming out until they know for sure. Like, until the game is done, don't tell us. But there's so many things in this game. It's got a skirmish mode, it's got an arcade mode, a campaign mode, a puzzle mode, it's got a map creation, it's got a campaign creation, so you can make your own campaign to go through, and you can download other people's campaigns using the content sharing. There's a lot of stuff in Wargroove, and I'm willing to wait. I'm willing to wait and find out what happens later on. I'm willing to wait and get a better game. I don't want them to rush it, and I trust Chucklefish to make the right choice when it comes to delaying a game. Dreadlock says, better than getting the devs to work 100-hour weeks. He's obviously referring to the Rockstar story, which I'm not going to talk about on here. I did cover the Rockstar story on the Patron podcast. So if you're a patron and you haven't listened to it yet, the Patron podcast, I talked for about 20 minutes about the Rockstar story and my thoughts on how game development studios have like this crunch time mode. So make sure that you check that out if you're a patron. If you're not a patron, go become one. All right. Let's move on. We've got this really strange story that was sent to me from Droid on Twitch. He sent me, not Twitch, on Twitter, sent me this story. And this is a thing that is called a game enhancer. It's called the Switch Up Game Enhancer. It's on sale at Best Buy. And it says here, the Switch Up by Collective Minds is a breakthrough accessory. Ooh, breakthrough accessory. For today's Switch gamer, use your existing PS4 or PS3, Xbox One, or Xbox 360 controllers on your Nintendo Switch. This is not the only device to allow you to use other controllers on your Switch, but this one has an extra feature. It says, use mods on the Nintendo Switch, Rupee and Arrow Generation, as well as enhanced weapon modes in Zelda. Take the grind away and devastate enemies. Beat the bosses in Super Mario Odyssey. Get you past any frustration with easy Mario combos and the use of unlimited coin and moon generation. Get the 100% you've been striving for. Okay. Who wants this? I don't understand people who want to find a game to play, or they want to find a way to get the game to play itself for them so that they don't have to do it. Like, what is the point of that? If you want to use your other controllers on the Switch, sure, that's fine. But having this thing build in cheats into the game, that is a really slippery slope, and I don't like it, especially because who's to say that this can't be used to cheat in multiplayer games? I don't really get why anybody would want to buy this. I don't like the idea of it, but it's really odd. And it takes me back to the Game Genie. When I was a kid, there was a Game Genie that you plug into your console, and then you would plug the cartridge into the Game Genie, and then you could put in certain codes, and it would allow you to have unlimited lives or be able to jump further in Mario or whatever like that. And I think it was by Galoob. And Nintendo actually sued Galoob over it. I think that they lost. But this feels like a Game Genie again. And I don't get why anybody would want this. I don't want anybody using it if I'm playing against them in an online game. I don't want anybody using it if I'm playing with them on my team in an online game, because that feels like cheating. And I know that they didn't mention anything for Fortnite or Splatoon or Mario Kart, but I feel like this is the kind of thing that could be used for any of those games. So just keep in mind that that kind of thing is out there. That being said, let's move on. We've got two videos that I'm hoping that you will check out. We've got my first look at a game called Save Me, Mr. Taco, which is this really interesting game. It looks like it came from the days of the Game Boy, and it's even got like the color palette of the original Game Boy, which I've got sitting right behind me. Where is it? Right there. It looks really, really good. It seems like it is a game that could be played on an original Game Boy, and I had a lot of fun playing the first look at it. So make sure that you check that out over at my YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/runjumpstomp. And right after last episode, the people who were here and watching here on twitch.tv/runjumpstomp, the people who were here joined me in a game of Jackbox. We played one game, and that's my first look at Jackbox 5 for the Nintendo Switch, and that's also over on my YouTube channel. Make sure you check that out. We had a lot of fun. It was I really enjoyed the game that I played. I can't remember what it was, but the whole idea behind it was that you had to come up with a choice that you thought that half of the people would pick one thing and half of the people would pick the other thing. And the more divisive the choice that you gave the people you're playing with, the better you did. And I thought that that was really cool. I'm excited to play the other modes. I don't know when I'm going to have time. Probably won't have time until Thanksgiving, when I've got a bunch of family over. But because I'm super busy right now. But make sure you check out those two videos over at my YouTube channel. That being said, it's time to wrap things up and get out of here. Music for today's episode can be found over at runjumpstomp.com/music. I did not decide ahead of time what the song would be, so I'm looking right now, and it's going to be by Sarah, and it will be from Octopath Traveler, Ulberic the Warrior synthwave music. It's really cool. You've already heard it at the beginning of the show, and you're going to hear it again right now or soon after this. Don't forget that if you want to watch the full show, you can come watch live over at twitch.tv/runjumpstomp like all of these awesome people did. By the way, if you're here and you want me to give you a shout out at the end of the show, just type !here. Let's see what else. If you can't watch live because you're a very busy person, I totally understand that. I'm incredibly busy too. You can watch afterwards on YouTube over at youtube.com/runjumpstomp. And if you're looking for ways to support the show, there's lots and lots of ways for you to do that. One of those ways is by checking out Audible at runjumpstomp.com/audible. And if you're looking for any other way to support the show, just check out runjumpstomp.com/thank-you. Tons and tons of links there, some free, some not, ways that you can support the show. You can also just review the show on Apple Podcasts. That being said, it's time to wrap things up, and the show just would not be the same without the live chatters. So I really want to thank them for being here today. We've got Johnny Link. Kodiak Moonwolf is here. He said, "Thank you for the great episode, Chief Nerd." What Am I Doing Studios says, "Love the show. Keep up the great work." We've got Retro, Luminosity, Dreadlock, Kimbalina66, who I believe was today's patron as well. We've got Lumberjoke 2, Spartan Parker, and you guys are awesome. Thank you so much for joining me while I record the show. You're great. I will see you all soon. Bye-bye.